So in this section, we'll be talking about Islamic art. And you'll see in a moment why this really goes in with Byzantine art. Okay, so just a little background about Islam before we start. The religion called Islam, it literally means submission to God, and it originated in Arabia in the early 7th century under the leadership and founder Muhammad, who we believe lived between 570 and 632. And then Islam spread quite rapidly throughout Africa, Europe, and Asia. And Muhammad's successors continued to spread this new religion. It reached India, and it conquered all of northern Africa and Spain, and it penetrated France within 100 miles of Paris before being turned back. And today, Islam is the world's fastest growing religion. At first, Islamic art absorbed local traditions, and we can see this in the art, this diversity of both Roman and Byzantine and even Persian influences in the art and architecture. And the one thing is that Islam is just like the Jewish religion that I've already spoken about, in that they don't show images of people or animals in holy settings. And it falls into the category too of one where I was just talking about before with the iconoclasm. So, but let's look at this map first, and then we'll look at their solution to that. We have the expansion of Islam under Muhammad here in this darker green area, and then we go all the way up. It expands until 1475. It's at its biggest expansion here. So quite large in such a short period of time for this religion to expand throughout the world. And as I said, it's still the fastest growing religion in the world. So now we'll look at their solution. They're not going to show any graven images, no images of people or animals in a holy text. And again, it's because a literal translation of the Ten Commandments. So they come up with a thing called arabesque, and it's this really beautiful patterning that I'm showing you here, and I'll point it out again and again throughout the next few slides that I show you. So when we begin to look at early Islamic art, the most important piece of early architecture to show you is this. It's called the Dome of the Rock, and it is in the exact location where the second temple of Solomon was built. So if you remember back when we were talking about the Romans, well, even further back, we have Nebuchadnezzar. He goes in and destroys the first temple of Solomon. The Jews rebuild it. Then we have the Romans go in, Titus leads the Romans in, and he destroys the second temple. Well, there's literally a rock in this building that was in the second temple of Solomon. So this building is built around this site, and it becomes a Catholic church. Later, it then is made into a mosque. And I have a video up that walks you through this. And it's still presently a mosque. If I show you a cutaway of this, you literally can see the rock here. It's a rock. And it's believed to be the conduit between, Jews believed it to be the conduit between life here on earth and the afterlife, into heaven. And so this is still the belief that it has some kind of special religious power present, that it is somehow this holy site between these two worlds. And you can see all the amazing, beautiful arabesque patterning. So here you have the inside of it. So again, no images of people here. We have this just amazing arabesque, right, patterning. Then you have this kind of stone again, where you're cutting in thin slices these pieces of marble, and you're opening them like books, and it's making this kind of amazing abstract design in it. And the other thing to note is, if I go back one more, you see it's an octagon. So we haven't seen that many buildings that have been octagons. We've seen a couple, but not that many. So it's an unusual shape as well. Okay, so this is a hotly contested site because of the layering of all these religions on exactly like the same rock in this case, or the same site. So what I'm showing you here is the Dome of the Rock in the background, and this is called the Wailing Wall. This is the only remaining piece of architecture left from the Second Temple of Solomon. This was the wall that went around the garden. And so now today is looked at as a very holy site by Jewish people. They go there and pray, and they put prayers in the wall. So I'm sure you have seen images of the Wailing Wall. And I show you this to give you like an exact understanding here of how close these things are in Jerusalem. And this is why there's so much conflict in this part of the world. It's because everybody wants the same literal piece of land. And they all say it's important to the religion. It's all should be owned by them. So next I'm moving to Northern Africa in Tunisia, and I'm showing you here one of the early mosques there, and this is a mosque that's built then and really sets the groundwork for how mosques are going to be built moving forward, where we have this large courtyard. And this serves as it's called a minaret, although it's really kind of fat and squatty compared to ideas that we think of nowadays of minarets, because they're usually fairly slender, tall towers, and they're used to call the devoted to prayer. And in later mosques, we'll actually see that there'll be more minarets than just one like this. And then you go through this, and then there's an inner prayer hall in this section here. And so this being quite early, the year 636, sorry, I got that wrong, 836 to 875. Again, it lays the groundwork for later interpretations of architecture to build various mosques. So now we're going to move to Spain, and one of the amazing mosques in Spain, or I think actually the most amazing, is the mosque in Cordoba, Spain. And I have a video up about the Dome of the Rock, and I have a video up about this mosque. And it's interesting because it was actually a church first, but then when the Muslims come in and they convert Spain to Islam, instead of tearing the church down, they buy the land, and then they build a mosque around the church, and they incorporate the church into the mosque. So it's a very interesting idea and space because of that. And then this is the prayer hall, and it has these really interesting arches. It has the striations, and this actually you see in a lot of architecture in Italy as well. But what makes this really interesting is the way the columns are done, that it's like almost a double column. You have a column here, and then a thinner column underneath it. And what it does is it gives you this kind of visual uplifting so that it almost looks like it's defying gravity, and it brings your eye up into the space, and again has this relationship to God and to the heavens through that. And what I'm showing you here now is an overview of the mosque. So here we have the original mosque, right? And then they've added all these sections to it. So in the original mosque, you see still architecture from the original church. And then within this mosque, we have some really amazing things. So we have certain areas that are set aside for prayer. And so this is one of them. And what you do is, it looks quite actually plain when you look at it, but then you look up into the dome above it and you see this amazing arabesque patterning that's going on here. And the other thing that you'll see quite frequently in Islamic architecture is the use of calligraphy. Calligraphy becomes this kind of fancy writing, becomes an art unto itself. So here you have a whole row of calligraphy that is incorporated into this arabesque patterning. Very, very beautiful. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to pick it up with a second video.